Destiny had never even been kissed when two rival Korean Mafia brothers cornered her backstage and declared she belonged to them both. But when she made them choose between killing each other or sharing her, she had no idea that decision would end with her tied up in an abandoned warehouse, while enemies circled, demanding the brothers pick which one loved her enough to die first. The gentle one, Minj, had taken her virginity with whispered promises, while the wild one, Kiwan, had climbed through her window at midnight and shown her passion so raw it left marks. And now, with a blade against her bleeding cheek and gunfire echoing through the walls, she was about to discover if two men could truly love one woman enough to burn the entire city down to save her. By the way, family, if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, you can join as a member or send a super thanks, totally optional. Your support helps me post more for you. The spotlight burned against Destiny's skin as she moved across the stage, her body flowing like water to the heavy beat pounding through the underground club. Sweat glistened on her dark skin, making her shine like a jewel under the red lights. She closed her eyes, letting the music take control, unaware that two pairs of eyes were watching her with a hunger that could set the whole room on fire. When the song ended and the lights dimmed, Destiny's heart was racing. She grabbed her silk robe from backstage and wrapped it around her dancing outfit, trying to catch her breath. The club owner, a nasty man named Rick, had been getting too handsy lately, and she wanted to leave before he cornered her again. "Excuse me." The voice was deep, smooth, and sent shivers down her spine. Destiny turned around and her breath caught in her throat. A man stood in the shadows of the hallway, tall and dressed in an expensive black suit that probably cost more than her rent. His face was beautiful in a dangerous way, with sharp cheekbones and dark eyes that seemed to see right through her robe, right through her skin, straight into her soul. "You dance like you're trying to escape something," he said, stepping closer. The smell of his cologne wrapped around her, making her dizzy. "I'm Minj." "I'm just trying to get to the dressing room," Destiny said, her voice shaking. She'd never felt this way before, like her body was waking up from a long sleep. Her legs felt weak. Minj reached out and touched her cheek with one finger, so gently it was almost painful. "You're trembling. Are you afraid of me?" "Should I be?" she whispered. His lips curved into a small smile. "Probably." Before he could say more, another man appeared behind him, and Destiny's eyes went wide. He looked similar to Minj, but younger, with longer hair and wilder eyes. Where Minj felt like controlled fire, this man felt like an explosion waiting to happen. "Move, brother," the second man said, his voice rough. "You're blocking my view." Minj's jaw tightened. "Kiwan, I was here first." "I don't care about your rules tonight," Kiwan said, pushing past his brother. He stopped inches from Destiny, so close she could feel the heat coming off his body. "What's your name, beautiful?" "Destiny," she managed to say, feeling like she was drowning in the attention of both men. "Destiny," Kiwan repeated, like he was tasting her name. "Perfect, because it was destiny that brought us here tonight." He reached out and touched the belt of her robe, his fingers playing with the silk. "This needs to come off." Destiny's heart nearly jumped out of her chest. "What?" "He means you should change into regular clothes," Minj said quickly, shooting his brother a warning look. "We'd like to take you somewhere safe. This club isn't good for someone like you." "Someone like me?" Destiny asked, confused and overwhelmed. "Innocent," Minj said softly, "pure, untouched by the dirt of this world." How could he possibly know that just by looking at her? Destiny had never even kissed anyone, had never let any man get close to her. She'd been saving herself, waiting for something real, something that mattered. "I can see it in your eyes," Kiwan said, answering her unspoken question. His hand moved from her robe to her wrist, his thumb pressing against her racing pulse. "You've never been with a man, have you?" The way he said it made heat flood through her body, pooling in places she'd never paid attention to before. "That's none of your business," she said, trying to sound strong. "It is now," Kiwan said, "because I'm going to be your first." "You're not doing anything," Minj said coldly, pulling Destiny away from his brother and into his own arms. She gasped as her body pressed against his chest, feeling the hard muscles under his suit. If anyone is going to teach her about pleasure, it will be me. I'll be gentle, patient. I'll make sure her first time is perfect. Destiny's mind was spinning. These two gorgeous, dangerous men were talking about her like she was already theirs, like they'd already decided her future. She should be angry. She should walk away, but her body was betraying her, getting warm and soft in Minj's arms. "Let her go," Kiwan growled. "You're scaring her." "No," Destiny heard herself say. "He's not." Something changed in Minj's eyes. They got darker, hungrier. His hand slid down her back, stopping just above the curve of her bottom. "You like being in my arms, don't you, Destiny?" She couldn't lie. Her body was answering for her, pressing closer to him, wanting more of his touch. "Yes," she whispered. Suddenly, rough hands grabbed her and spun her around. Kiwan pulled her against him, his grip stronger, more demanding than his brother's. "Try my arms and compare," he said into her ear, his breath hot against her neck. "I won't be gentle like him. I'll make you feel things you didn't know existed." Destiny's knees went weak. Having Kiwan's hard body pressed against her back, while his brother watched from inches away, made her feel like she was burning up from the inside. "I don't understand what's happening," she said, her voice coming out breathy and strange. "We want you," Minj said simply, his eyes locked on where his brother's hands were holding her waist. "Both of us." "That's impossible," Destiny said. But her body was saying something different, responding to both men in ways that shocked her. "Why?" Kiwan asked, his lips brushing against her ear. "Why can't you have both of us? Why can't we both have you?" Before she could answer, the door burst open and Rick, the club owner, stormed into the hallway. "What the hell is going on here? Destiny, get back to work. And you too, get out of my club." Minj's whole body changed. He went from warm to ice cold in a second. "Your club," he said quietly, but there was danger in every word. "I think you're confused about who owns what in this city." Rick's face went pale. "Who are you?" "Someone you should have shown more respect to," Kiwan said, finally releasing Destiny but staying close, "especially since we're about to buy this place." "Buy it?" Rick laughed nervously. "This club isn't for sale. Everything is for sale," Minj said, "including your life, if you don't stop touching what belongs to us." Destiny realized they were talking about her. These men, these strangers, were claiming her as theirs after 5 minutes of meeting her. Rick looked at Destiny. "You know these guys?" "No," she said, honestly. "Then you're coming with me," Rick said, reaching for her arm. He never made contact. Kiwan moved so fast, Destiny barely saw it, grabbing Rick's wrist and twisting it until the man cried out in pain. "Touch her and lose your hand," Kiwan said calmly. "Those are your options." "Destiny," Minj said, holding out his hand to her. "Come with us. Let us protect you from men like him." She looked at his outstretched hand, then at Kiwan still holding Rick in a painful grip, then back at Minj's dark, promising eyes. Everything in her logical mind said to run away, to go home, to forget this crazy night ever happened. But her body, her heart, and something deeper she didn't have a name for yet were all saying the same thing. Go with them. If I leave with you, she said slowly, what happens next? Minj's smile was slow and full of promises, everything you've ever dreamed about, and things you haven't dared to dream yet. I'll make you feel alive, Kiwan added, releasing Rick and moving back to her side. I'll show you passion that will ruin you for any other man. We both will, Minj said. Destiny took a deep breath. She was 23 years old, and she'd never taken a real risk in her entire life. She'd never let herself want anything dangerous or exciting. She'd been good, careful, safe, and she was so tired of being safe. She placed her hand in Minj's, feeling his fingers close around hers, strong and possessive. At the same moment, Kiwan's hand landed on the small of her back, burning through the thin silk of her robe. Okay, she whispered, I'll come with you. Both brothers smiled, and Destiny knew with absolute certainty that her life would never be the same. She didn't know they were Mafia, didn't know they were brothers fighting for power, didn't know that choosing them meant entering a world of danger and violence. All she knew was that for the first time in her life, she felt truly wanted, and it was addictive. This is insane, Rick sputtered. You can't just take my dancer. Watch us, Minj said, already leading Destiny toward the exit. Kiwan followed close behind, his hand never leaving her back. As they stepped out into the cool Los Angeles night, Destiny looked back at the club one last time. She was walking away from the only life she knew, following two dangerous strangers into the unknown. But when Minj opened the door of his luxury car and Kiwan's hands guided her inside, when both men slid in on either side of her, so close their bodies pressed against hers, she couldn't bring herself to regret it. Where are we going? She asked as the car started moving. The brothers looked at each other over her head, something unspoken passing between them. Then they both looked at her, and the heat in their eyes made her shiver. Somewhere private, Minj said, his hand finding hers in the darkness. Somewhere we can talk about what happens next. Somewhere we can start teaching you about pleasure, Kiwan added, his hand landing on her thigh, his touch burning through her clothes. Destiny's breath caught. She was trapped between two powerful men, being driven to an unknown location, and she should be terrified. Instead, she felt more alive than she'd ever felt before. Whatever happened next, there was no going back now. Destiny woke up to find a white box on her doorstep, tied with a black silk ribbon. Inside was a dress that cost more than she made in 3 months, deep red like wine, with a note in elegant handwriting. Wear this tonight. I'll pick you up at 8. Minj. Her hands trembled as she held the soft fabric. 3 days had passed since that night at the club, and she'd barely slept, replaying every touch, every word, every heated look the brothers had given her. They'd dropped her home that first night after driving through the city for hours, asking her questions, learning everything about her, but they hadn't kissed her, hadn't done anything except promise that they would. The waiting was killing her. She tried on the dress and gasped at her reflection. It hugged every curve of her body, making her look like someone else, someone confident, someone beautiful enough to deserve the attention of men like Minj and Kiwan. At exactly 8 o'clock, a knock sounded at her door. Destiny opened it to find Minj standing there in a dark suit, looking like he'd stepped out of a magazine. His eyes travelled slowly down her body and back up, and the hunger in them made her skin flush hot. Perfect, he said quietly. You're absolutely perfect. He took her to a restaurant in Beverly Hills where everyone seemed to know him, where they were led to a private room with candles and roses. Minj pulled out her chair, his hand lingering on her bare shoulder. fingers tracing patterns on her skin that made her shiver. "Are you nervous?" he asked, sitting across from her. "Yes," she admitted. There was no point in lying. Her heart was beating so fast she could barely breathe. "Good," Minj said, reaching across the table to take her hand. His thumb stroked circles on her palm, and somehow that simple touch felt more intimate than anything she'd experienced. "You should be nervous. What I want to do to you should make you nervous." Destiny's mouth went dry. "What do you want to do to me?" His eyes got darker. "Everything. I want to touch every inch of your skin. I want to hear you say my name when you're lost in pleasure. I want to be the first man to show you how good your body can feel." The way he talked made heat pool low in her stomach, in places that had never felt this alive before. "Minj," she whispered. "Yes, just like that," he said, his voice rough. "Say my name just like that when I'm making love to you." She couldn't eat. Every bite tasted like nothing because all she could think about was his words, his promises, the way his eyes kept dropping to her lips. When he paid the check, he stood and held out his hand. "Come here," he said softly. Destiny rose on shaky legs and walked around the table. Minj pulled her close, one hand sliding around her waist, while the other cupped her face. He was so close she could feel his heartbeat against her chest. "I'm going to kiss you now," he said. "If you want me to stop, tell me." She couldn't speak, couldn't move, could barely breathe. Minj's lips touched hers, soft and gentle, like he was handling something precious. He kissed her slowly, carefully, teaching her how to move her mouth against his. When his tongue traced her bottom lip, she gasped, and he deepened the kiss, pulling her tighter against his body. Destiny had never been kissed before, had never felt a man's hands on her like this, never felt this liquid heat spreading through her veins. Her knees went weak, and Minj caught her, holding her up as he kissed her deeper, harder, showing her just a glimpse of the passion he was holding back. When he finally pulled away, they were both breathing hard. "That was your first kiss," he said, not a question. "Yes," she whispered, touching her swollen lips. "Good." His eyes blazed with satisfaction. "Every first you have will be mine. I'll make sure of it." He drove her home, his hand on her thigh the entire way, burning through the thin fabric of her dress. At her door, he kissed her again, slower this time, until she was clinging to him, making small sounds she'd never made before. "Dream of me tonight," he whispered against her lips. "Dream of what's coming." Destiny stumbled inside, her whole body on fire. She touched her lips, still able to feel him there. She'd never imagined a kiss could be like that, could make her want to rip off her own clothes and beg for more. She was changing into pajamas when her window opened. She spun around with a gasp to find Kiwan climbing through, moving like a cat, dressed in black jeans and a leather jacket. "What are you doing here?" she asked, clutching her shirt to her chest. She was only wearing underwear and a bra. "I could ask you the same thing," Kiwan said, his eyes roaming over her half-naked body without shame. "Why are you dressed up? Where did you go tonight?" "That's none of your business," she said, but her voice shook. Having Kiwan in her bedroom, looking at her like he wanted to devour her, made it hard to think straight. "It is my business." He crossed the room in 3 steps, backing her against the wall. His hands landed on either side of her head, caging her in. "You're mine, Destiny, mine and Minj's. So when you go out looking like you were made for sin, I need to know about it." "How did you know what I looked like tonight?" she asked. His jaw tightened. "I've been watching your apartment, making sure you're safe, and I saw my brother pick you up. I saw that dress." "You've been watching me." She should be angry. should be scared, but instead her body was responding to his nearness, getting hot and soft. Every night, Kiwan admitted, his face inches from hers. I sit outside and watch your window, making sure nothing happens to you. It's driving me crazy, being this close but not touching you. Then why don't you? The words came out before she could stop them. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Because if I start touching you, I won't stop. I'm not gentle like my brother, Destiny. I won't kiss you sweetly and take you to fancy restaurants. When I take you, it will be raw and real, and so intense you'll forget your own name. Her breath came in short gasps. Maybe I don't want gentle. Don't say things like that, Kiwan growled. Not unless you mean them. He kissed me tonight, she found herself saying. Minj kissed me. Kiwan's whole body went rigid. His hands curled into fists against the wall. What? He kissed me, she repeated, and she didn't know why she was telling him, why she wanted to see his reaction. It was my first kiss. Your first kiss, Kiwan repeated, his voice deadly quiet. He got your first kiss. Yes. Then I'll take your second, he said, and his mouth crashed down on hers. Where Minj had been gentle and patient, Kiwan was fire and hunger. He kissed her like he was starving, like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. His hands moved from the wall to her body, sliding down her sides, over her hips, pulling her against him hard enough that she could feel every inch of him. Destiny moaned into his mouth, and Kiwan made a rough sound. In response, lifting her up so her legs wrapped around his waist. He pressed her harder against the wall, kissing her deeper, one hand tangled in her hair while the other gripped her thigh. This was nothing like Minjai's kiss. This was wild and desperate and made her feel like she was going to explode. She kissed him back with equal hunger, not knowing what she was doing, but letting her body guide her. When he finally broke the kiss, they were both panting. Kiwan's lips moved to her neck, kissing and biting gently, making her gasp and arch against him. Tell me to stop, he said against her skin. Tell me to stop before I take this too far. Don't stop, she breathed, her hands gripping his shoulders. Kiwan groaned and carried her to the bed, laying her down and covering her body with his. His weight felt amazing, felt right. He kissed her again while his hands explored, touching her through her bra, making her body respond in ways that shocked her. You're so perfect, he whispered, his lips trailing down her throat to her collarbone. So pure. I want to corrupt you, Destiny. I want to teach you every dirty, beautiful thing your body can do. His hand slid lower, over her stomach, and Destiny's whole body tensed with anticipation. But just as his fingers reached the edge of her underwear, he stopped. Not yet, he said, pulling back with visible effort. His breathing was ragged, his eyes wild. Not tonight. When I take your innocence, it won't be rushed. It won't be because I'm jealous my brother kissed you first. He climbed off her and she made a sound of protest, reaching for him. Her body was aching, needing something she didn't fully understand. Patience, Kiwan said, leaning down to kiss her once more. Soft this time. I'm going to make you wait until you're begging for it. And then I'm going to make you scream my name so loud the whole city hears. He walked to the window, then turned back. Tomorrow night, I'm taking you somewhere. Be ready at midnight. Midnight? She asked, still trying to catch her breath. I do my best work in the dark, he said with a dangerous smile, and then he was gone, disappearing through the window like a shadow. Destiny lay there, her body still trembling, her lips swollen from both brothers' kisses. She touched her mouth, feeling the difference between Minj's gentle possession and Kiwan's wild claiming. She was in so much trouble. The next morning, another box appeared at her door. This one had no note, but she knew it was from Kiwan. Inside was a black leather jacket and motorcycle boots with a small card that said only, "Tonight." All day she couldn't focus on anything. She tried to dance, tried to practice, but her body remembered the feeling of being pressed between two strong male bodies, remembered hands and lips and promises of more to come. She put on jeans and the leather jacket at 11:30, her heart racing. At exactly midnight, she heard the sound of a motorcycle outside. She ran to the window to see Kiwan sitting on a powerful black bike, looking up at her apartment with a grin. This time, she used the door. He was waiting at the bottom of the steps, holding out a helmet. "Ready to fly?" he asked. She'd never been on a motorcycle before, but she took the helmet and climbed on behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist. She could feel his muscles through his shirt, feel the heat of his body. "Hold on tight," he said. And then they were moving, speeding through the Los Angeles streets like they were running from something or chasing it. Destiny pressed her face against his back, feeling the wind whip past them, feeling completely alive and completely terrified and completely free all at once. Kiwan drove them up into the hills, to a spot overlooking the city lights. He parked and helped her off the bike, then pulled her close. "I needed to get you alone," he said. "Away from everyone. Away from Minj." "Why?" "Because I need you to understand something," he said seriously, cupping her face in his hands. "What we're offering you isn't normal. Most women get one man. You're getting two. And we're not just any men, Destiny. We're dangerous. We're involved in things that could get you hurt." "What kind of things?" she asked, though part of her didn't want to know. "Things I can't tell you yet," he said. "But I need you to decide if you're brave enough for this, for us, because once you're truly ours, there's no going back." Destiny looked at his beautiful, dangerous face, thought about Minj's gentle promises and Kiwan's wild ones. She thought about how her body came alive when either of them touched her. She thought about the fact that she'd lived 23 years being safe and careful, and she had nothing to show for it except loneliness. "I'm brave enough," she said. Kiwan's smile was fierce and proud. "Then let me show you something," he said, and kissed her again, right there above the city, with the stars watching. When he brought her home hours later, Minj was waiting at her door. The two brothers stared at each other, and Destiny could feel the tension crackling between them. "We need to talk," Minj said, "all three of us." And Destiny knew that whatever came next would change everything. The private jet felt like a dream. Destiny had never flown before, had never imagined she'd be sitting in soft leather seats while Minj poured champagne and told her they were going to San Francisco for the weekend. "Just us," he'd said that morning when he showed up at her apartment with a packed bag. "No interruptions, no distractions. I want you all to myself." She should have said no, should have asked more questions, but the way he looked at her, like she was the only thing that mattered in the world, made it impossible to refuse. Now, as the jet landed and a car took them to a building in the heart of the city, Destiny's hands were shaking. Minj held one of them, his thumb drawing circles on her skin, calming her. "Are you afraid?" he asked softly. "Nervous," she admitted. They both knew what this weekend meant, what he wanted, what she wanted too, even though it terrified her. The penthouse was beautiful, all glass windows overlooking the bay, with furniture that looked too expensive to touch. But Destiny barely noticed any of it, because Minj was watching her with eyes that promised everything. "Come here," he said, holding out his hand. She went to him, and he pulled her close, his hands gentle on her waist. "I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me," he said. "Do you want this? Do you want me to be your first?" Destiny's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. "Yes," she whispered. But I don't know what to do. You don't have to know anything, Minj said, kissing her forehead, then her cheek, then the corner of her mouth. I'll teach you everything. All you have to do is trust me. I trust you, she said, and realised it was true. Minj led her to the bedroom, which had a huge bed and more windows, showing the city lights beginning to sparkle as the sun set. He turned her to face him and slowly unzipped her dress, letting it fall to the floor. Destiny stood in just her underwear, fighting the urge to cover herself. No man had ever seen her like this before, but Minj looked at her like she was art, like she was precious. You're shaking, he said, running his hands down her arms. I can't help it, she said. Her whole body was trembling with anticipation and fear and want. Let me warm you up, he said, and kissed her deeply while his hands explored her skin, learning every curve, every sensitive spot. He unhooked her bra and slid it off, and when his hands touched her bare breasts, Destiny gasped into his mouth. Does that feel good? He asked, his thumbs brushing over her sensitive peaks. Yes, she breathed, her head falling back as new sensations flooded through her. Minj kissed down her neck, across her collarbone, lower and lower, until his mouth replaced his hands. Destiny's knees buckled and he caught her, lifting her easily and laying her on the bed. I'm going to take my time with you, he said, standing to remove his own clothes. Destiny watched, her eyes wide as he revealed his body. He was beautiful, strong, and clearly ready for her. He joined her on the bed, his weight settling over her carefully. We'll go slow, he promised. If anything hurts, tell me, and I'll stop. For the next hour, Minj kept his promise. He touched her everywhere, kissed her everywhere, teaching her body to respond to his. When his hand slid between her legs, she cried out at the pleasure, at sensations she'd never imagined. You're so ready for me, he murmured against her ear, his fingers working magic that made her hips move on their own, searching for something she didn't understand yet. Minj, she gasped, I need something. I don't know what, but I need it. I know what you need, he said, positioning himself between her thighs. This is going to hurt at first, but then it's going to feel better than anything you've ever experienced. Hold on to me. She gripped his shoulders as he slowly entered her, and yes, it hurt. She tensed and made a small sound of pain, and immediately he stopped. Breathe, he said, kissing her tears away. Just breathe and let your body adjust. He moved so slowly, so carefully, giving her time to get used to the feeling of having him inside her. And just like he promised, the pain faded and something else took its place, and something that made her gasp and arch against him. There she is, Minj said with satisfaction, beginning to move. That's my girl. Feel how good we are together. Destiny couldn't speak, could only hold on to him as he made love to her, each movement showing her new heights of pleasure. He touched her in ways that made her body sing, kissed her like she was oxygen, and murmured words in Korean that sounded like poetry. When the pleasure built to something impossible, something that felt like she might break apart, she cried his name. Minj groaned and moved faster, deeper, until they both shattered together, holding each other like they might never let go. Afterward, he held her close, kissing her damp forehead. You're mine now, he said softly. You gave me something you can never get back, something precious. I won't take that lightly. They made love twice more that night, each time Minj showing her something new, teaching her body new ways to feel pleasure. By morning, Destiny was exhausted and sore and completely changed. She wasn't innocent anymore. She was his. The weekend passed in a blur of touching and kissing and learning each other's bodies. Minj was endlessly patient, always making sure she felt good. always putting her pleasure first. He fed her breakfast in bed, bathed with her, and made love to her in the shower, against the window, on the couch. "I could do this forever," he said on Sunday morning, holding her close. "Keep you here, just like this, where no one else can have you." Something about those words made Destiny think of Kiwan. She hadn't thought about him all weekend, had been too lost in Minj's arms. But now guilt crept in. "What about your brother?" she asked quietly. Minj's arms tightened around her. "What about him? He wants me too. You both do." "I know," Minj said, his voice harder now. "But you're mine. I was first. I took your innocence. That means something." Destiny pulled back to look at his face. "Are you saying Kiwan can't have me?" "I'm saying you need to choose," Minj said. "Me or him. You can't have both of us." Before she could respond, his phone rang. He answered it, and Destiny watched his expression change from relaxed to angry in seconds. "How did you find out?" he said coldly. "No, you can't come here. Kiwan, I said no." He hung up and looked at Destiny with frustration. "He knows where we are. He's on his way." "How?" Destiny asked, sitting up and pulling the sheet around her naked body. "He has his ways," Minj said bitterly. "He's always been good at finding things that don't belong to him." 2 hours later, Destiny was dressed and sitting nervously on the couch when someone pounded on the door. Minj opened it to reveal Kiwan, his face dark with fury. "You took her," Kiwan said, pushing past his brother. His eyes found Destiny, and she saw the hurt there, the betrayal. "You brought her here, and you took what was supposed to be mine too." "It was her choice," Minj said. "Was it?" Kiwan turned to Destiny. "Did he ask you if I should be here too, and did he give you a choice, or did he just take you away where I couldn't find you?" Destiny stood on shaky legs. "He asked me if I wanted him to be my first. I said yes." "Your first," Kiwan repeated, and the pain in his voice made her chest hurt. "So he's had you. He's been inside you. He's made you his." The way he said it made heat flood through her, even though she'd just spent 2 days in bed with Minj. "Kiwan," she started, but didn't know what to say. "I should have known," Kiwan said, running his hand through his hair. "Minj always gets what he wants. He's the older brother, the one in control, the one who plans everything perfectly. Of course he'd plan this too." "I didn't plan anything," Minj said coldly. "I fell for her. I wanted her. I took her. That's not a plan. That's called being a man who knows what he wants." "You took her from me," Kiwan said. And suddenly he was across the room, grabbing Destiny's hand and pulling her toward him. "But you don't own her just because you were first. She can still choose me." Standing between the two brothers again, Destiny felt torn apart. Minj had been so gentle, so careful with her body and her heart. But Kiwan's wild passion called to something deeper in her, something that craved the danger and intensity he offered. "Tell him," Kiwan said, his hand cupping her face. "Tell him you felt something was missing this weekend. Tell him that no matter how good he made you feel, you were thinking about me." "That's not true," she said, but her voice wavered because it was a little bit true. Even in Minj's arms, she'd wondered what it would be like with Kiwan. "Liar," Kiwan said softly, and kissed her hard, claiming her mouth in front of his brother. Destiny knew she should push him away, should respect what she'd just shared with Minj, but her body responded instantly to Kiwan's rougher touch, his more demanding kiss. When he finally released her, both brothers were staring at her. "You want us both," Minj said, realization dawning in his eyes. "Even after this weekend with me, you still want him too." "I'm sorry," Destiny whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know what's wrong with me. I shouldn't want both of you, but I do." "There's nothing wrong with you," Kiwan said fiercely. You want what? You want? The question is, are we strong enough to give it to you? He looked at his brother, and something passed between them, some silent communication that Destiny couldn't understand. We've shared everything else, Kiwan said. Our family, our business, our enemies. Why not this? Because she's not a business deal, Minj said. She's a woman, my woman, our woman, Kiwan corrected, if she wants to be. They both looked at Destiny, waiting for her answer. She thought about the weekend with Minj, how safe and cherished he made her feel. She thought about the nights with Kiwan, how alive and free he made her feel. She thought about the fact that she was standing in a penthouse in San Francisco, having this insane conversation about belonging to two men, and how just weeks ago she'd been a lonely dancer who'd never even been kissed. I want both of you, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. I know it's crazy, I know it's wrong, but when I'm with Minj, I miss Kiwan. And I know if I'd chosen Kiwan first, I would have missed Minj. You both make me feel complete in different ways. Then you'll have us both, Kiwan said decisively. We'll figure out how. It's not that simple, Minj said, but Destiny could see him considering it, see the possessiveness in his eyes warring with something else, love maybe, or understanding. Why not? Kiwan challenged. We're brothers. We know how to work together when it matters, and she matters more than anything. Minj looked at Destiny for a long moment, then sighed. We need rules, boundaries. This can't be chaos. Agreed, Kiwan said. But right now, I need something else. What? Destiny asked. I need my turn with you, Kiwan said bluntly. Minj had his weekend. Now I want mine. Destiny's eyes widened. Her body was still sore from Minj, still marked by his touch. But at Kiwan's words, heat pooled low in her stomach again. Now? She asked. Right now? Kiwan said, unless you're too tired. It was a challenge, and they all knew it. He was testing her, seeing if she really wanted him as much as she claimed. Destiny looked at Minj, who nodded slowly. If this is what we're doing, then we do it right. He deserves his time with you too. I'll take her back to Los Angeles, Kiwan said. My place. And Minj, you're not invited. 48 hours, Minj said. Then she comes back to me. Deal, Kiwan said. Then turned to Destiny with fire in his eyes. Get your things. We're leaving. As Destiny gathered her bag with shaking hands, she realized she'd just agreed to something that would change everything. She'd given herself to one brother, and now she was about to give herself to the other. And somewhere deep inside, she knew this was just the beginning of something beautiful and dangerous and completely insane. The warehouse smelled like oil and metal and danger. Destiny stood between Minj and Kiwan as a dozen men in expensive suits filed in, their faces hard and unforgiving. At the centre sat an older man with silver hair and cold eyes that looked like they'd seen every sin the world had to offer. Uncle, Minj said, his voice carefully controlled, we didn't expect you back from Korea so soon. Clearly, the older man said, his accent thick, or you wouldn't have been so careless about your personal lives. This was how Destiny learned the truth. The brothers weren't just dangerous. They were part of a Korean Mafia family that controlled half of Los Angeles, and their uncle, who ran everything, was not happy about the mess they'd made. She's just a girl, Kiwan said, but his hand found Destiny's, holding tight. She has nothing to do with the family business. Just a girl? The uncle laughed without humour. A girl who has both my nephews fighting over her like dogs over a bone. A girl who is making you weak, making you forget your duties, making you vulnerable to our enemies. We're not weak, Minj said coldly. Then prove it, the uncle said, leaning forward. Choose. One of you gets the girl, the other walks away. And whoever walks away takes over the Seattle operations, far from here, far from her. Destiny's heart stopped. Seattle was across the country. If one of them went there, she'd never see him again. That's not fair, she said, finding her voice, even though she was terrified. You can't just separate them. I can do whatever I want, the uncle said, his eyes landing on her with disdain. You're nothing, girl. A dancer from a cheap club who got lucky enough to catch their attention, but luck runs out. Don't talk to her like that, Kiwan growled, stepping forward. Two men immediately moved to block him, their hands going to guns under their jackets. Kiwan, stop, Minj said quietly. Uncle, give us time to figure this out. You have 24 hours, the uncle said. One of you chooses Seattle, the other keeps the girl, or I choose for you, and trust me, you won't like my choice. The meeting ended, and the brothers took Destiny back to Kiwan's apartment, all three of them silent and shaken. Once inside, Destiny finally broke. I'll leave, she said, tears streaming down her face. I'll disappear. You both can stay here together, and I'll just go away. No, both brothers said at the same time. You're not going anywhere, Minj said, pulling her into his arms. This isn't your fault. It's ours for not being more careful. I'll go to Seattle, Kiwan said suddenly. Minj should stay. He's better at the political stuff, better at dealing with the uncle. Absolutely not, Minj said. You'd go crazy in Seattle away from the action. I'll go. I can build something new there. Start fresh. Destiny listened to them argue about who would sacrifice their life for her and felt sick. Stop, she said. Both of you, just stop. Maybe your uncle is right. Maybe I am making you weak. You make us strong, Kiwan said fiercely, turning her to face him. Before, we were just going through the motions, doing what we were told, living empty lives. You gave us something to care about. Minj nodded. He's right. For the first time, we're fighting for something that actually matters. But what's the point if you have to be separated? Destiny asked. Then we'll find another way, Minj said. We have 24 hours. We'll think of something. But as the hours passed, no solution came. They ordered food that no one ate. They sat together in heavy silence, and as night fell, Destiny felt time slipping away. I need to be with you, Kiwan said quietly, looking at Destiny. Before everything changes, before one of us has to leave, I need tonight. Minj stood. I'll give you privacy. I'll be at my place if you need me. After he left, Kiwan pulled Destiny close, and she could feel the desperation in his touch, the fear that this might be their last night together. Make me forget, she whispered. Make me forget everything except this moment. Kiwan kissed her hard, all his control slipping away. Where Minj had been gentle and patient, Kiwan was raw and intense. He picked her up and carried her to his bedroom, laying her on the bed and covering her body with his. I love you, he said against her lips. I know I haven't said it before, but I love you so much it's killing me. I love you too, Destiny said, crying and kissing him at the same time. I love you and Minj, and I don't know how to choose. Then don't choose, Kiwan said, pulling off her clothes with shaking hands. Tonight, just be mine. Tomorrow we'll figure out the rest. Their lovemaking was different from her weekend with Minj. Kiwan was rougher, more demanding, taking her to heights that made her scream his name into the darkness. He showed her passion she didn't know existed, made her body bend and respond in ways that shocked her. Tell me you'll remember this, he said, moving inside her with a rhythm that made her see stars. Tell me no matter what happens, you'll remember how we fit together. I'll remember, she gasped, her nails digging into his back. I could never forget. They made love until they were both exhausted, until the sun started to rise, until there were no more words left to say. Kiwan held her close, his face buried in her neck, and she felt wetness there that might have been tears. I don't want to lose you, he whispered. You won't, she promised, even though she didn't know if it was true. Morning came too fast. Minj returned with coffee and sad eyes, and the three of them sat together trying to figure out the impossible. I've decided, Minj said finally. I'll go to Seattle. Kiwan needs to stay here with you, needs the action and the danger. I can build something new in Seattle, something clean. No, Kiwan said. I already told you. I'm going. They were still arguing when Destiny's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered it without thinking. Hello, Destiny, a voice said, cold and amused. You don't know me, but I know everything about you, and right now, you're going to do exactly what I say. Who is this? She asked, and both brothers immediately tensed, moving closer. Someone who's very interested in the two men you're with, someone who's been waiting for the perfect opportunity to hurt them, and you, my dear, are that opportunity. Fear shot through Destiny. What do you want? I want you to walk outside, alone, right now. There's a black car waiting. Get in. If you tell the brothers, if they try to follow, I'll kill you before they can reach you. If you do what I say, you might survive this. The line went dead. Destiny looked at Minj and Kiwan, her heart racing. She could tell them, could let them protect her. But the voice had been so certain, so cold. What if he really would kill her? I need some air, she said, standing on shaky legs. I'm just going to step outside for a minute. I'll come with you, Kiwan said immediately. No, she said too quickly. Please, I just need a minute alone to think. This is all so much. The brothers looked at each other, then nodded reluctantly. 5 minutes, Minj said, then we're coming after you. Destiny walked out of the apartment, down the stairs, and onto the street. Her whole body was shaking. The black car was there, just like the voice said. The back door opened. She had a choice. She could run back inside, tell the brothers, let them handle this. But what if that got them killed? What if this was the only way to keep them safe? She got in the car. Immediately, rough hands grabbed her, tying her wrists and putting a bag over her head. Smart girl, the cold voice said. Now let's see what those brothers are willing to do to get you back. The car drove for what felt like hours, but was probably only 30 minutes. When they finally stopped and pulled the bag off her head, Destiny found herself in an abandoned building surrounded by armed men. The one who seemed to be in charge was young, maybe 30, with scars on his face and dead eyes. My name is Kiwan, he said, and I'm going to use you to destroy the men you love. Back at the apartment, Minj looked at his watch. It's been 10 minutes. Kiwan was already at the door. Something's wrong. I can feel it. They ran outside and found the street empty. No Destiny, no signs of struggle, just gone. No, Kiwan said, his voice breaking. No, no, no. Minj pulled out his phone, already making calls, already mobilizing their entire network. But he knew in his gut they were too late. Someone had taken her. Who? Kiwan asked, his hands shaking with rage and fear. Who would dare? The Kiwan family, Minj said, grimly, getting information through his earpiece. They've been waiting for us to show weakness, and we gave it to them by falling in love. Then we end them, Kiwan said, simply. We end every single one of them, and we get her back. Agreed, Minj said. Uncle will be angry that we're starting a war. I don't care if the whole world burns, Kiwan said. We're getting her back. For the first time in years, the brothers stood united with a single purpose. Not for power, not for money, for love. In the abandoned building, Destiny sat tied to a chair while Kwan circled her like a predator. You really think they'll come for you? He asked. You're just a girl. They'll probably decide you're more trouble than you're worth. You don't know them, Destiny said, trying to sound brave, even though she was terrified. Maybe not, Kwan said, pulling out a knife. But I know men, and men always choose power over love in the end. He pressed the knife to her cheek, drawing a thin line of blood. Destiny bit back a scream. Let's send them a message, Kwan said, pulling out his phone and taking a picture of her, tied up and bleeding. Let's see how fast they come running. The picture reached Minj's phone 3 minutes later. Both brothers looked at it, at Destiny's terrified face and the blood on her cheek, and something inside them, both, broke. Location, Minj said into his phone, his voice deadly calm. Got it, came the response. Abandoned factory in the industrial district. How many men? Kiwan asked. At least 20. Good, Kiwan said, loading his gun. I was hoping for a challenge. The brothers gathered their own men, armed themselves, and prepared for war. As they drove toward the factory, Minj looked at his brother. If we don't make it out, he said quietly. We'll make it out, Kiwan interrupted. All 3 of us, together. Together, Minj agreed. They were done choosing between each other, done letting anyone tell them what they could or couldn't have. They were taking back their woman, and heaven help anyone who stood in their way. The gunfire started exactly at midnight. Destiny heard it through the walls of the factory, heard men shouting and then screaming, heard the sound of her brothers coming for her like an army. Quen's face went pale. That's impossible. They couldn't have found us this fast. I told you, Destiny said, blood still dripping down her cheek. You don't know them. More gunshots, closer now. Kwan grabbed her chair and dragged it behind him, using her as a shield as he backed toward a rear exit. But before he could reach it, the door exploded inward. Minj came through the first, his gun raised, his suit covered in blood that wasn't his. His eyes found Destiny, and something fierce and terrible crossed his face. Let her go. Or what? Kwan asked, pressing his knife to Destiny's throat. You'll shoot me. The blade will cut her before you pull the trigger. Then I'll shoot you, Kiwan said from behind Kwan, appearing from a side entrance. His gun was pointed directly at Kwan's head. And trust me, I won't miss. Kwan was trapped between both brothers, and they all knew it. You start a war over one girl? He asked, laughing nervously. She must be incredible in bed. Watch. Your mouth, Minj said coldly, or I'll let my brother kill you slowly. Here's what's going to happen, Kiwan said, his voice deadly calm. You're going to drop that knife. You're going to step away from her, and then you're going to pray, we're feeling merciful. And if I don't? Kwan asked. Then you die, both brothers said together. Something in their unified response made Kwan realize he'd lost. He dropped the knife and stepped back, and hands raised. Immediately, Kiwan was there, cutting Destiny's ropes while Minj kept his gun trained on Kwan. You okay? Kiwan asked gently, touching her bleeding cheek. I am now, Destiny said, her whole body shaking with relief. Minj made a phone call, speaking rapidly in Korean. Within minutes, more men arrived to take Kwan away. Destiny didn't ask what would happen to him. She didn't want to know. The brothers took her to a safe house in the hills, a place no one knew about. As soon as they were inside, both men surrounded her, touching her face, her arms, checking for injuries. I'm okay, she kept saying. Really, I'm okay. You're bleeding, Minj said, his jaw tight with anger. He hurt you. It's just a scratch, Destiny said, but when she looked in the mirror, she saw the cut was deeper than she thought, would probably leave a scar. I'm going to kill him, Kiwan said flatly, slowly. He's not worth it, Destiny said, turning to face them both. You came for me. You saved me. That's all that matters. But both brothers looked haunted, looked like the hour she'd been missing had aged them years. We should have protected you better, Minj said quietly. We got careless. We let our guard down. This is my fault, Kiwan said, running his hands through his hair. If we hadn't been fighting about Seattle, if we'd been paying attention instead of arguing, they never would have gotten to you. Stop, Destiny said firmly. Both of you, stop blaming yourselves. I made the choice to go outside. I got in that car because I was trying to protect you. Protect us? Minj asked. Destiny, we're the ones who are supposed to protect you. Well, maybe I wanted to protect you back, she said, tears starting to fall. Maybe I love you both so much that the thought of losing either one of you made me stupid and reckless. The room went quiet. It was the first time she'd said it out loud like that. Not just, I love you, whispered in passion, but a clear statement that she loved them both equally, completely. Destiny, Kiwan said, pulling her into his arms. You can't do things like that. You can't risk yourself for us. Why not? She asked, holding him tight. You risked everything for me tonight. I heard the gunfire. I know what you did to get to me. We'd do it again, Minj said, joining the embrace so she was sandwiched between them. We'd burn the whole city down to keep you safe. They stood like that for a long moment, the three of them holding each other, grateful to be alive and together. Then Destiny felt the tension in both men's bodies shift from fear to something else. Something hungry. I need to touch you, Kiwan said roughly. I need to know you're really here, really safe. Me too, Minj said, his hands sliding up her sides. I need to feel you alive under my hands. Destiny's breath caught. They'd never been with her at the same time, had always taken turns, always given each other privacy, but now, with adrenaline still pumping through all of them, with the memory of almost losing each other so fresh, privacy seemed wrong, seemed like a waste. Both of you, she asked, her voice shaking. At the same time, if you want, Minj said carefully, we won't do anything you're not ready for. Destiny thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. She'd almost died tonight. They'd almost lost each other. Life was too short to play by normal rules. I want both of you, she said, together. The brothers looked at each other over her head, something passing between them. Then Minj nodded. They led her to the bedroom, and what happened next was like nothing Destiny had experienced before. Both men touched her at once, 4 hands learning her body, 2 mouths kissing every inch of her skin. It should have been overwhelming, should have been too much, but instead, it felt perfect, complete. Minj was gentle, his touches soft and reverent. Kiwan was rougher, more demanding. Together they created a balance that made Destiny feel like she was floating. You're so beautiful, Minj murmured, kissing down her stomach while Kiwan claimed her mouth. So perfect, Kiwan agreed when he finally released her lips. So completely ours. They took turns making love to her, one holding her and kissing her while the other was inside her. Then they switched, showing her without words that they could share her, that there was enough love between the three of them to make this work. Destiny had never felt so cherished, so desired, so completely possessed. Every nerve in her body was alive, every sensation heightened by having both men focused entirely on her pleasure. I love you, she gasped as waves of pleasure washed over her. Both of you, so much. We love you too, they said together, and the unity in their voices made her heart soar. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the bed, Destiny in the middle with a brother on each side. She felt safe, protected, loved in a way she'd never imagined possible. We need to talk about this, Minj said quietly, his fingers tracing patterns on her arm, about what this means. What it means is that we're done pretending we can choose between each other, Kiwan said firmly. Done letting anyone tell us this is wrong. The family won't accept it, Minj said. Uncle will lose his mind. Then we leave the family, Kiwan said simply. We take our money, take our connections, and we build something new, something that belongs just to us. Destiny sat up, looking between them. You'd really do that? Give up everything? We almost lost you tonight, Minj said, sitting up too and cupping her face. That showed me what really matters. Not the family business, not power or control. You. Just you. Both of us feel the same way, Kiwan added. We've been talking while you were sleeping. We have a plan. What kind of plan? Destiny asked. We leave Los Angeles, Minj explained. We go somewhere new, somewhere the family can't control us. Maybe Vegas. Vegas? Destiny repeated. It's far enough away, but still has opportunities, Kiwan said. We can start fresh there, build something legitimate, and most importantly, we can be together without anyone telling us it's wrong. What about your uncle? Destiny asked. Won't he come after you? Probably, Minj admitted, but he'll have a harder time if we're in another city with our own operation. And honestly, after tonight, after what we did to get you back, I think he knows we're done following his rules. Destiny thought about it, leaving everything behind, starting over in a new city, living with both brothers openly, not hiding, not choosing. What would people think? She asked quietly. About the three of us together? Who cares what people think? Kiwan said fiercely. This is our life, our love. Nobody else gets a say in how we live it. But it's not normal, Destiny said. Normal is overrated, Minj said with a small smile. Normal is boring. We're extraordinary, the three of us together. Why should we settle for ordinary rules? He's right, Kiwan said. Look at what we survived tonight. Look at what we're willing to do for each other. That's not normal. That's epic. That's once in a lifetime. Destiny looked at both of them, these two incredible men who'd risked everything for her, who wanted to give up their entire world just to be with her openly. Okay, she said, let's do it. Let's go to Vegas and build something amazing. Both brothers smiled and they sealed the decision with kisses, with touches, with promises whispered in the dark. But as dawn broke, reality set in. They couldn't just disappear. There were things to handle, people to deal with, loose ends to tie up. We need to face the uncle, Minj said as they got dressed. Tell him we're leaving, do this right. Or we could just go, Kiwan suggested. No, Destiny said firmly. Minj is right. We do this the honourable way. We tell him we're leaving and why. The brothers looked at her with pride and love. When did you get so brave? Kiwan asked. When I fell in love with two men who taught me that some things are worth fighting for, she said simply. They drove to the family compound that afternoon, all three of them together, united. The uncle was waiting for them in his office, looking older and more tired than Destiny remembered. I heard about last night, he said before anyone could speak. Heard you destroyed the Kiwan operation. Started a war for a girl. Not. Just a girl, Minj said firmly. The woman we love. Both of us. The uncle's eyes narrowed. Both of you? You're sharing her? We're not sharing anything, Kiwan said. We're together, all three of us. It's not your business or anyone else's. Everything you do is my business, the uncle said coldly. Your family. You represent us. Not anymore, Minj said. We're leaving. Going to Vegas. We'll keep our partnership on certain deals, but we're done taking orders. The uncle stood, his face red with anger. You walk out that door and you're cut off. No money, no protection, no family. We'll manage, Kiwan said, taking Destiny's hand. The uncle looked at them for a long moment, then sighed heavily. You're making a mistake. This girl will destroy you both. No, Minj said quietly. She saved us both. They turned to leave, and Destiny felt her heart pounding. This was it. They were really doing this. Wait! The uncle called out. They stopped, turned back. If you're going to do this insane thing, he said, at least do it smart. I'll give you seed money for Vegas, and if you need help, call me. Family is family, even when they're being idiots. It wasn't acceptance, but it was something. The brothers nodded their thanks, and then they were walking out, free, in the car. Destiny sat between them again, their hands holding hers. Are you scared? Minj asked. Terrified, she admitted, but also more excited than I've ever been in my life. Then, let's go home and pack, Kiwan said with a grin. Vegas is waiting. As they drove through Los Angeles one last time, Destiny looked at the city that had been her home, at the place where she'd been just a struggling dancer with no real future, and now she was leaving with two men who loved her, starting an adventure that would change everything. She didn't know what waited for them in Vegas, didn't know if their unusual relationship would work long term, didn't know if they'd succeed or fail. But she knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, they'd face it together, all three of them, forever. The Miami sun felt different on Destiny's skin, warmer, freer, like the heat was washing away every dark memory from Los Angeles, every moment of fear and doubt. She stood on the balcony of their new estate, watching the ocean waves crash against the private beach below. The house was huge, all white stone and glass windows, surrounded by palm trees that swayed in the breeze. It looked like something from a magazine, the kind of place she'd only dreamed about when she was dancing in that dirty club. That felt like another lifetime now. Strong arms wrapped around her waist from behind, and she knew instantly it was Minj. She'd learned to tell them apart by touch alone. Minj's hands were always gentle, always careful, like he was holding something precious. What are you thinking about? He asked, his lips brushing her ear. How much has changed? Destiny said, leaning back against his chest. 6 months ago, I was alone. Now I have everything. We're the ones who have everything, Minj corrected, turning her around to face him. The morning light made his dark eyes shine like gold. You gave us a reason to be better men, a reason to walk away from all that darkness. Do you miss it? She asked. The power? The family? Minj thought about it, then shook his head. I miss nothing. Everything I need is right here. Before Destiny could respond, Kiwan appeared in the doorway wearing only pajama pants, his hair messy from sleep. Even half awake, he was beautiful, dangerous and wild and completely hers. You two started the morning without me, he asked, pretending to be hurt. That's against the rules. They'd made rules when they first arrived in Miami, good rules that kept everyone happy. They each got alone time with Destiny, but they also spent time together as three. No secrets between them. No jealousy allowed, and most importantly, Destiny's happiness came first, always. We were just talking, Destiny said, walking over to kiss him good morning. His lips were warm and tasted like sleep and promises. Talking is boring, Kiwan said, his hands sliding down her back. I can think of better ways to start the day. It's 9 a.m, Minj said with amusement. So, we're on vacation from normal life, remember? Kiwan pulled Destiny closer, his body pressing against hers in ways that made her breath catch. Besides, when have we ever been normal? He had a point. Nothing about their relationship was normal. But over the past 3 months in Miami, Destiny had learned that normal was overrated. What they had was better than normal. It was extraordinary. Minj walked over and joined them, his hand finding Destiny's. If we're doing this, we do it right. The ceremony is tonight. After that, she's officially ours. The ceremony. Destiny's heart fluttered with excitement and nerves. Tonight, in front of the ocean under the stars, both brothers would marry her. Not legally, since that was impossible, but in their hearts it would be real. They'd each say vows. They'd each put a ring on her finger, and then they'd be bound together forever. "Are you ready for this?" Kiwan asked, tilting her chin up so she had to meet his eyes. "Once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be ours completely. Forever." "I've been yours since that first night in the club," Destiny said honestly. "The ceremony is just making it official." Both brothers smiled, and the love in their eyes made her feel like the luckiest woman alive. "Then let's make today perfect," Minj said. "Kiwan, you handle the beach setup. I'll take care of the food. Destiny, you just relax and get beautiful." "I'm already beautiful," she teased. "True." Both men agreed together, making her laugh. The day passed in a blur of preparation. Destiny took a long bath, letting the warm water ease her nervous excitement. When she got out, she found a white dress laid out on the bed. Not a traditional wedding dress, but something simple and elegant that made her feel like a goddess. There was a note beside it in Minj's handwriting, "For our queen, with all our love." Destiny put on the dress and looked at herself in the mirror. She barely recognised the woman staring back. Gone was the scared dancer who'd never been touched. In her place stood someone confident, someone loved, someone who knew exactly what she wanted and wasn't afraid to claim it. When the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Kiwan came to get her. He wore a white shirt and dark pants, looking good enough to make her mouth go dry. "You're stunning," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Absolutely stunning." He led her down to the beach where Minj waited. They'd set up an arch made of white flowers and candles that glowed in the fading light. The ocean provided music with its constant rhythm. It was perfect. Minj took her other hand when she reached him, and suddenly Destiny was standing between both brothers, exactly where she belonged. "We don't have a priest," Minj said softly. "We don't need one. This is just us, making promises to each other that nothing and no one can break." "I'll go first," Kiwan said. He turned to face Destiny fully, his hands holding hers tight. "When I met you, I was empty inside, going through the motions of living but not really alive. You changed everything. You made me want to be better, to deserve you. I promise to protect you with my life, to love you even when it's hard, to share you with my brother, because I know that makes you happy. You're my heart, Destiny. My everything." Destiny felt tears sliding down her cheeks. "Kiwan, I promise to love you exactly as you are, wild and dangerous and perfect. I promise to trust you completely, and I promise that no matter what happens, you'll always have a place in my heart." She slipped a simple gold band on his finger, and he did the same for her, placing it on her right hand. Then Minj stepped forward, his eyes shining with emotion. "I've always been the careful one, the one who planned everything, who never took risks. But you made me realize that the biggest risk is not taking one at all. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I promise to cherish you every day, to make sure you always feel safe and loved, to build a life with you and my brother that's worthy of your trust. You're my miracle, Destiny. Minj, I promise to be your peace in the storm. I promise to respect your gentle heart and never take your love for granted, and I promise to grow old with you, watching sunsets just like this one for the rest of our lives." She placed a ring on his finger, and he slid one onto her left hand. Now she wore a ring from each brother, symbols of their unusual but perfect union. "We're married now," Kiwan said, grinning. "All three of us. Sealed forever." Minj agreed. They kissed her together, both of them claiming her mouth in turns, and destiny felt complete in a way she'd never imagined possible. As the stars came out, they walked back to the house, hand in hand. But when they reached the bedroom, the atmosphere shifted. The gentle ceremony gave way to something more primal, more urgent. "Tonight is special," Minj said, his voice dropping lower. "Tonight, we show you exactly what it means to be ours." Destiny's pulse quickened. Over the past months, they'd explored every aspect of physical love together, but tonight felt different. Tonight, there were no boundaries, no holding back. Kiwan unzipped her dress slowly, kissing each inch of skin he exposed. Minj stood behind her, his hands sliding around to cup her body through the thin fabric. Together they undressed her until she stood before them, wearing only the moonlight streaming through the windows. "Perfect," Kiwan breathed. "Our perfect wife." They guided her to the bed, and what followed was hours of pleasure so intense Destiny lost track of time. They worshipped every inch of her body, taking turns and then together, showing her sensations she'd never experienced. They pushed her to heights that made her cry out their names, made her beg, made her surrender completely. This was what marriage meant to them. Not just rings and vows, but total possession, total devotion, total trust. "I love you," Destiny gasped as waves of pleasure rolled through her. "Both of you. So much." "We know," Minj said, kissing her deeply. "We feel it every time you touch us, every time you say our names," Kiwan added, his hands exploring places that made her shiver. They made love until the sun started to rise, until all three of them were exhausted and satisfied and completely connected. Finally, they collapsed together in a tangle of limbs, Destiny safe between her two husbands. "This is forever," Minj said softly, stroking her hair. "Forever," Kiwan agreed, his arm draped across both of them. "Forever," Destiny whispered, and meant it with every fibre of her being. The weeks that followed were like a beautiful dream. They explored Miami together, went to beaches and restaurants, danced under the stars. They were building a life that belonged only to them, free from the past and all its darkness. But one morning, Destiny woke up feeling different, sick to her stomach in a way that made her run to the bathroom. When she came out, both brothers were sitting on the bed looking worried. "Are you okay?" Minj asked, already reaching for his phone to call a doctor. "I'm fine," Destiny said. But then the realization hit her. She'd been tired lately. Her body felt different, and she was late, very late. "I think I need to take a test," she said quietly. Both brothers stared at her, understanding dawning in their eyes. "A test," Kiwan repeated. "You mean you might be—" "Pregnant," Destiny finished. "I might be pregnant." The room went silent as the weight of those words settled over them. A baby. A child that belonged to all three of them, though they'd never know which brother was the biological father. "How do you feel about that?" Minj asked carefully. Destiny thought about it. Thought about a tiny person who would have her smile and their strength. Thought about raising a child with two fathers who would love them fiercely. Thought about their unusual family growing even more unusual. Scared, she admitted, but also happy, really happy. Both brothers broke into huge grins and pulled her into their arms, holding her tight. "We're going to be fathers," Kiwan said, wonder in his voice. Our family is growing, Minj added. They spent the morning taking 3 different pregnancy tests, all of which came back positive. They were really going to have a baby. That night, as they lay in bed together, Destiny felt truly blessed. She'd gone from being alone and lost to being the centre of an incredible love story. She had 2 husbands who worshipped her, a beautiful home, and now a baby on the way. I never imagined my life could be this good, she said softly. It's only going to get better, Kiwan promised, his hand resting on her still flat stomach. We'll make sure of it, Minj agreed. And as Destiny drifted off to sleep between her 2 loves, she knew they were right. Whatever challenges came next, they would face them together, 3 hearts beating as one, forever bound by love. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd absolutely love to hear from you. Please take a moment to subscribe if you enjoyed this story and want more emotional romance tale. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from and share your thoughts. What was your favourite moment? Your feedback means everything and helps me create more stories you'll love. Drop a comment right now. I read every single one. Watching from New York, UK, Trinidad and Tobago, Canada, London. Let me know in the comments. I love connecting with readers from around the world. Bye for now.